Taskmaster, The Lost Words, and Cóatl. This is Staying In. I got a wonderful surprise the other day. I came home and my wife had gone shopping, and she came back and she was like, "I've bought you a present." I was like, "Oh, what could this be?" The bangs, by the way, are fireworks. Anyway, I just don't want to talk around them because
No.
Yeah, so we're recording on fireworks tonight, and if you're a
No, we're not.
No,
we're not.
Yes, we are.
No, the day before.
No,
Are we not?
no.
What day is it?
It's been a long week for you, Pete, hasn't it?
Bloody hell! Can you get your big diary out if you don't put it in?
Hold on.
Remember the 4th of November.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
the reason I think it is because so we're recording on the 4th of November.
Which also, incidentally, is the day before the next national lockdown. So I presume that is why people are
Yes.
blowing their loads this evening.
Yes, they're absolutely. I can't follow that line.
No,
but there's
no.
fireworks basically.
There's bangs and fireworks.
Yes.
Anyway, so I came home. My wife had bought me a present, and I opened it up, and it was a box of moccasin slippers. And gentlemen, I could not have been happier with this wonderful, wonderful gift that she got me. I'm wearing them now. They are exceptionally comfortable. They replaced the other slippers that I had, which are truly dreadful in design, because I had some of those slippers before. There's probably a name for them, where it was just like a rudimentary flip-flop. So you have the base of the slipper, and the only bit that's covered is like the front bit of your foot, like over your toes.
It's like a slider.
Like a slide. Yeah, but not even like a slider. There's not even like any friction between the toe and the top like you would do in a flip-flop. So when you go upstairs, the amount of times, or I'd go downstairs, the slippers would just fall off.
Yeah.
It was becoming untenable. So
So obviously, last time we chatted on the podcast, you said that you'd gotten into solo board games, and I think this really is completing the look. These moccasins, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
Isn't it, Sam?
Do we need to remind the listener of your age, Sam?
Yeah. And what was the First World War like, Sam?
And what was it like when all this was green fields?
So when do you think that you will be getting into some of the older man pleasures?
Well,
so,
can I just say, in my defence, right?
Go on.
In my defence, so my favourite pair of lounge footwear are the pair of woolen boots that Kris bought me about 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'm amazed those are still around.
Yeah, they're almost approaching Ship of Theseus levels.
I was about to say, yeah.
we don't know if they are actually the original slippers or they've just been mended so many times. So those are my favourites, but because they're essentially woolen boots, it's quite a lot of effort, when you come in after your day at work, to take your shoes off, hike up the boots, and then when you're finished and you go to bed, you got to pull them off again. It's a bit of a hassle. The other slippers, not working. Moccasins, in the door, 1, 2 on, 1, 2 off. So that's it's ease of use, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So carry on. What other old things am I looking forward to?
Yeah, are you going to be getting into your pipes? Are you going to be wearing a sleeping hat to bed? Are you going to be, I don't know.
Pete, do you want to remind the listener how old you are?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Who wears a hat to bed?
The little.
I mean, I don't think any of my grandparents did that.
Old people don't do that. They did that in olden times.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they wore a helmet during the Blitz, but just to protect them from shrapnel. But that was about it.
I mean, where's Wally's got, except for a bit more,
Right.
and maybe
A bobble hat kind of thing.
Yeah,
No. It's not like a. It's like a sort of cotton hat.
Yeah, it looks like a little Santa hat, except for it hasn't got a bobble on the end. It's not quite as festive.
Usually, what Ebenezer Scrooge is usually.
Yeah,
depicted
Ebenezer Scrooge is
inside.
usually wearing one. Yeah,
Yeah, from the Victorian era.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Again,
looks-
not an old person thing, but an old timey thing.
yeah. But you're from that era. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Right. Pete, what is your favourite era of time?
Hold on a second. I need to go and get my top 5 list. Hold on.
No, like if you were to inhabit a period of time.
That's really lovely because how you say some people are ahead of their time, but there must be also people that are behind their time.
Oh, for sure. I think the best period of time. The real answer is the best period of time is now. It's the greatest time to be alive.
Is it?
It absolutely is, because sure, there are bad things happening right now. Wink, nod. We all know what these things are. But also, people are living longer. They're eating better. People are more educated. They have generally more wealth in the West. People comparatively, you are more likely to be homeless in the 1950s by about like a factor of like 10 or something like that than you are today. So generally, now is the right time. But also, if we're playing the real game, I think probably the 1920s, because you could wear suits all the time and like just sort of wander around and be a little bit like...
I mean, there's nothing stopping you wearing a suit now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but then you're one of those... Yeah, but then you're one of those people that you see wandering down the street or in Tesco's or something like that, and they're the ones who are like, oh, I just put this on. Yes, of course, it looks like I was thrown out of the 1960s, but this is just how I like dressing. And it's like, that's all very well and good, but I haven't got the energy. What about you, Sam?
I think that
Yes.
the 90s are probably the best time.
The 1890s, of course, for you.
Doesn't sound. No, the 1990s. I don't see the appeal of spending time in an era where, the littlest thing could kill you, and clothes weren't comfortable, and I feel like the 1990s was a great period of discovery, invention, but also willful ignorance.
Yeah.
Before the tide started turning.
So like 1995 is like the absolute mwah. Like we've not invaded the Middle East for the second time, and the internet's not that pervasive. Like
Pretty much, yeah.
Beautiful. The phrase, remember, we need to meet at town by the clock at 12.
Yeah, and technology had pretty much the most advanced thing in technology was an anti-skip CD player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you still had to hold flat.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll do.
I'll do. What about you, Kris? When are you going back to? Go on, pop in the time machine, Kris. Punch in the buttons. Beep, 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 beep. Coming up on the dial.
The Cretaceous era?
The Cretaceous era. Do you remember the Cretaceous era when all the animals were starting to come out of the oceans and grow legs?
This
Crazy.
is turning into the Yorkshireman sketch from Monty Python, isn't it? Really? No, I think I quite like the idea, and I know it's quite self-indulgent, but this is what this is, isn't it? Really, but I really like the whole Back to the Future idea of going back to like 1985, which is the year I was born, but it was also roughly around the same time that, like my parents were my age now. I quite like that idea, I suppose.
What, of seducing your mum?
You and I have two very different readings of that film.
In Back to the Future, Marty's mum falls in love with him.
Oh, he doesn't. He doesn't seduce her. He doesn't go
just
back
to be clear,
specifically.
I think you've missed the subtext there, which is Marty is very, very, very insistent on not seducing his mother. There's no hidden meaning of him going, "Oh, I don't think this is a good idea." It's he thinks this isn't a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think Spielberg would have put his name on a film like that. I don't know. Like, I think that, as Sam says, as much as I like the idea of going back in time and seeing, like, you know, the Celts, the Anglo-Saxons, the Vikings, and all that through kind of history, the reality of it would be something altogether completely different. So I think I like the idea of there being a little bit of progress there, and a little bit of wiggle room to just kind of be at what is quite a dynamic time, particularly in the 80s, where you've, as you say, like, this is the kind of culture of kind of technological changes. Think about the consoles around that time in particular, and, you know, gaming as well, as it kind of coming into a particular era there. I'd be quite interested in that. And also, I love 80s music, because I don't know about you, but, like, my parents used to tape the radio when I was a kid, so we would listen to tapes of music from that era, so like 80s music. So I grew up on that, and obviously now, particularly the 80s, having a bit of a renaissance again through kind of music and other kind of cultural things. I would quite like that. I really would, definitely. That kind of aesthetic and that sound of that era, definitely.
I've really been enjoying over the last we've been playing it for months and months and months, and it's been like one of my sort of go-to chill things whilst I'm up with the baby is we've been playing quite a lot of Ticket to Ride or that Choo Choo game.
Trains
On the app. I mean, it's a pretty good game, isn't it? Like,
what, Ticket to Ride?
Ticket to Ride.
Yeah. This is why people come to this podcast, for breakthrough opinions on board games,
on
like
evergreen board games.
Yeah. On the million selling.
I mean, but you know what? Like, I've probably said this before, but you're absolutely right. And those classics are classics for a reason. Like, you go back to them every once in a while, and you play Catan, or you play you play Ticket to Ride or Carcassonne or these other games, and you play them and you're like, yeah, these are smart. These are good games. You can see if you do a little bit of digging into the history of all of them, you go, oh, this was the first as well. Like, and it's really interesting to see those things of where those entire genres of board game have just come out of. And Ticket to Ride is properly amazing. That app is all right, actually.
The app is, I find it surprisingly good. I mean, like all board game apps, they all need to come with an undo button.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they don't.
Yeah.
Or at least, can you at least triple check that I'm okay with what I'm doing before I'm actually doing it?
And also, the Ticket to Ride app is like many board game apps. As you say, Sam, you like playing it during the night when you're up with the baby. Sometimes before bed, a cheeky tactic I have is obviously to check where I am in the game, because what I don't want to happen is I wake up in the morning and I've left it an extra 8 hours, has eaten into my time. But the problem is that, particularly with Ticket to Ride, you boot it up, and unless your volume is down, which often it isn't on my tablet, but it doesn't really matter, it is the loudest and piercing.
Yes.
Have you had that? The train.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, okay. I've got to go to bed now after that. Okay. It is the only way I would like playing this game. I'm not a massive Ticket to Ride fan. I think everyone has that evergreen game that for some reason doesn't gel with them. Like, for some it's Catan or Carcassonne. Yeah. It's Ticket to Ride for me. I've just never really taken to it. But what I've liked about this game is that it's casual. Playing it sat down, I think, would be an utter chore for me. But the app is so intuitive, and I don't lose sleep over it because of the aforementioned sound. But like, there's some, and just how lovely it's been for us to dabble with other game maps in a manner that we wouldn't do if we had the physical copy.
Yeah, I think like Ticket to Ride is a huge game anyway. Like I have Ticket to Ride Europe, and even before I bought our big table, it was a massive, massive thing to put down. You know, understandably slow. So because there is so much that you've got to be able to read when you're looking at it on the table in terms of understanding like who's got routes going where's Zagreb, where's the UK, all that kind of stuff. So it does have to take up quite a lot of space. So I couldn't imagine also owning all of those
All the
expansions.
Yeah, I think for me it does the thing that and I know you guys laughed at me about this one, which is fair enough, but it's for me it does what the Seven Wonders app does, and that's that it speeds up Ticket to Ride, because I actually think the interesting part of Ticket to Ride is the meta strategy, right? Like the actual choices that you're making moment to moment, not particularly interesting, but lots of them. And thinking about, okay, what are my tactics, which is the moment to moment, this is what I'm going to do, but what is my overall strategy? That is, for me, the interesting part of Ticket to Ride. And I love Ticket to Ride New York. That's one of my favorite games in my collection, because it's small. It's so much smaller. It's so much quicker, and you can play it in 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah. Ticket to Ride is one of my favorites, but I may have stumbled upon a game that I think might usurp it, and I am absolutely desperate to show this to you, Kris, because I think that it will. I think this game will possibly make you see what me and Pete especially enjoy about Ticket to Ride. In terms of that strategizing part of it. It's a game called Cóatl, which is Coatl, Cóatl.
Okay.
Which is an Aztec word which means snake.
Oh, okay.
And a bit like Ticket to Ride, it is this box which is absolutely crammed full of multicoloured, bright and vibrant little plastic bits. And it is an absolutely staggering thing to look at. I put if you go onto our Instagram feed, you will see that I've put a picture of Cóatl, of the box and some of the components, and it looks incredible. Like I've not played a game that looks this good in a long time. The finish and the production is incredible. The art's by someone called Silly Jelly, which I absolutely love. But it's this wonderful, evocative, Aztec-inspired artwork. All of those like bright yellows and reds and dark blacks and blues and greens. Like it's a real feast to look at. And I've been playing it solitaire, like it has a solo mode, and I'm really enamored with it. I think it has everything that a game like Ticket to Ride does in terms of its accessibility. It's the tactility of these little like plastic things, but I think it has a lot more of a degree of flexibility. That is the thing that maybe stops you from liking Ticket to Ride a bit, Kris.
This is really important to me because my beef with Ticket to Ride is I feel trapped, and I get a bit disillusioned because I can clearly see that there's no way out of this because somebody's blocked me, which for some is part of the charm because that's the whole strategy, but for me I find that very frustrating.
No, yeah, I agree with you. That frustrates me at all, and the thing I don't like about Ticket to Ride is having that pervasive feeling of stress, like you got to rush to complete something before someone else.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just not enjoyable. However, what Cóatl is it's almost like Ticket to Ride in reverse in a way. You have this this Aztec dial in the center of the table, and on the outside of the dial you have lots of these little multicolored body parts of a snake. So if you imagine when you were a kid and you went to a toy shop, did you ever get those plastic snakes?
Yes.
That had the separate sort of body parts.
Yes.
And you could hold them by the tail, and
That's
they would
it. Oh my
they would
gosh.
maneuver up and down, and they would
Yeah, I'll buy you one when I go in my time machine.
thanks. And they sort of pivot on all of their joints. In Cóatl, that's essentially what you're doing is you're building one of those snakes up. So on your turn, you can do one of three things. You either take a new part of a snake, so you could maybe take a head of a certain color, or you could take a tail, or you could take a couple of bit of body parts, or you could pick up a few more cards, and I'll come to why the cards are important in a second. Or the final thing you can do is you can start building up one of these snakes. And the idea is that you have a hand of cards, and on the cards will have a certain pattern or a certain arrangement of coloured shapes. So say 3 red shapes in a row, or a blue and a yellow part of a snake with a green part of a snake in between it. And the idea of the game is very simple, is that you've got to try and collect the body parts you need in order to fulfill the patterns that are on these cards, and build them up, and whoever completes basically the most patterns in the most snakes will get the most points, and they will win. And it's such an elegant and simple bit of design, and the reason why I like it, and the reason why it's kind of holding above Ticket to Ride for me, is that you still have that element of risk and reward in terms of, do I pick up the pieces I need now, or do I start building a snake from the pieces that I've already collected to free up some space to then collect more next turn? Because Kris might be going for those pieces, so do I grab them now, or do I hold on later? Or do I pick up a new card that would really help me now, or do I leave it to go later and do something else? And I feel like, because you're essentially building stuff in your own mini tableau, it doesn't feel as stressful. It doesn't feel as rushed as it does in Ticket to Ride, because it's all on you. And at any time you can decide and change what it is you're actually scoring towards. So unlike Ticket to Ride, where you have you'll get 10 points if you connect New York to Washington or whatever, here it can be, you'll have a card that can be, right, you've got to get 3 red body parts in the center. You can start doing it, suddenly you realize you're not able to do it, and you can easily just pick up a new card and then straight change your strategy, or start building another snake and use those cards to start building that one. So it's super flexible and wonderfully reactive.
Do you get penalised if you don't satisfy a card like you do
No.
in Ticket to Ride? You see that?
No.
Okay, that's interesting. And how many players does it scale up to, Sam?
It scales up to 4 players.
And the art in this really does look amazing. I was just looking at the Instagram, and it just looks
It's
beautiful.
incredible.
It's got it's definitely got a sense of that sort of Central American art to it, but done through the filter of almost like graffiti street art. Mm-hmm. It's really nice.
It's been lovely playing it solo. When you play it solo, you play against a character they've named Adam, Adam, and essentially Adam plays as an AI that just snaffles up pieces, so it doesn't have to make patterns or anything like that. It just generally just hoovers up bits from this Aztec circle, everything it needs, it always gets, and so it's it plays a very strategic battle against essentially a Hoover in one corner, and you're strategically trying to build this perfect little wall in terms of trying to stop it. It has all the best bits of the things that I love about Ticket to Ride, that risk and the reward, that drive to complete something, but it feels a lot more satisfying. Because again, as I said, because it's so personal to you, it's your thing that you're completing and no one else can interfere with it in any way. It's such a wonderful act to be like, right, that is complete. And the snakes look absolutely beautiful when they're complete. Like,
That's great.
it's very, very good. And I'm enjoying it.
That's what I really love, because it strikes me as one of those games where actually, when it gets to that stage, the competition starts to evaporate, and it's actually about marvelling at just the aesthetics of this objet d'art that you've kind of created on the table in front of you. I've been playing games that are quite pretty and intricate as well, actually. I recently bought Illimat, because some time ago I'd played it at a friend of a friend's house, which I am going to talk about in a future pod, but I want at least one of you to experience it in some capacity prior to me talking about it, because it is a very pretty game. It was actually, what I love about it is the history of the game. It was basically the band The Decemberists did an album cover, and essentially and in that album cover there is, I think this game is there, but it was just drawn as just something mysterious.
Oh, wow.
And somebody designed a game based on that picture, and it's actually a really good game. And I will talk about it in the future, but I've played it with my parents and they really, really liked it. And I've played it with a number of people who just say that it really scratches that itch for those who really love card games of old. And I know we've spoken about trick-taking games and stuff in the past, but there's a bit of elements in there that satisfy also fans of board games. It isn't just cards. There's other stuff happening.
Card games of old. I mean,
know.
what's happening to us?
I know. But I also was very kindly sent a game from Kosmos called the Lost Words card game, which has come out fairly recently. And the reason why I really, really wanted to play this was because it's a riff off a book by an author that's one of my favourite landscape writers, and that's Robert Macfarlane, who I first heard about when I read a book of his years ago called Mountains of the Mind, which is it's essentially about why do people climb mountains. And this particular book, it's a children's book, The Lost Words, and it's in this particular world where some of the words that are part and parcel of nature and the countryside are starting to disappear from children's memories. So this book is really acting as an aid memoir for them to refresh their memory and not lose touch with these words within the natural world, you know. And it's got beautiful illustration by Jackie Morris, and the book is gorgeous. I first came across it because my mum actually owns the book, and words such as dandelion, otter, bramble, and acorn, they all play a part in it. And Kosmos have produced this game, which is a real labour of love.
It's very pretty.
It is a beautiful game. It is a very beautiful, a bit like the game that Sam just spoke about. There is an aesthetic charm to it. And I can quite clearly say that I wouldn't enjoy it as much if it wasn't for the art or the poetry. Because
it's quite a straightforward game, isn't it?
It is very much so. It's not trying to be something overly ambitious or elaborate, really. At face value, one might assume that it'd be the kind of game you would get, say, while you're queuing at a bookshop, at a mainstream bookshop, and you'd see it on one of those rotating carousels and by the checkout.
That's a really good description, yeah.
But actually, there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, not a lot more, and that's absolutely fine. It's very much a light touch, but I quite like that because that lightness of touch really fits in well with its theme. If this was a huge hulking miniatures game with that theme, it'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? Like 4 hours of finding these mysterious lost words.
Sure.
But everyone gets dealt some cards in front of them, and what you're trying to do is to match spell cards with these particular cards. So you've got the image and these beautiful images from Jackie Morris, like conkers and acorns and raven or magpie in front of you, face up. And the aim of the game, a bit like for anyone who's played Flux, the keeper cards that you have, which usually in Flux end up getting dealt to you randomly, during the game, and they'll, as it says in the title with Flux, they'll disappear and reappear. Here you have these keeper cards, these nature cards right from the beginning, and what you're trying to do is find the matching spell card and play it on top of those. And there are other cards as well that you can play that can kind of mix things up, a la Flux. So, for example, I could play a wall card on top of my matching set to protect it. I could play a magpie card, which will mean that I can, I think, steal someone else's card, a la a magpie. And so there's a little bit of spice there, a little bit of variability. But it's not that kind of meanness that can sometimes come with Flux. It is a very sedate and tranquil and peaceful game that is very apposite when you're talking about the natural world. It's a very innocent game, and you can clearly tell this is something that is born from children's literature, and it's a very nice family game that I really, really loved. And Pete, you really, really didn't.
I really bounced off of this so
Yes,
hard.
you did.
And the thing is that when you say like it feels like the kind of thing that you would see in a bookshop and stuff like that, I think that actually is a really great compliment to give it. And I have to say, it feels like the kind of product. Putting my product hat on for a second, it feels like the kind of product that somebody sat down and went, we need something to go into a bookshop, and we need to have something that's going to sell this Christmas to an audience, or for an audience of people who like board games enough to know a bit about board games, so they can buy this thing for people who like books, like art, like nature, like nice drawings, like pretty things, but they want to introduce them and give them like a board game to play. This feels like the perfect gift game. It feels like a game that you would buy somebody, they'd unwrap it, they go, oh, brilliant. You play a few games of it and you go, oh, lovely. And if you're at the sort of level whereby maybe you've not heard of it before, or maybe you're the sort of person who doesn't really play a lot of board games, I think this is the perfect game for that audience. And it'll be the thing that goes and sits in a drawer and then comes out every 3 or 4 months when people are having high tea and having a lovely time with people who maybe don't play board games. For me, I found it really. For me, it was too light, and I will also provide a caveat. I had a stinking headache when we.
This was. I mean, not wanting to rake up a previous episode. This was the day after.
Yeah,
the rum night.
This was after the rum night, so maybe I wasn't the right mindset for it. But I think the other part of that is that I genuinely am somebody who prefers to go with games that are a little bit more dense, a little bit more fiddly. But also, I found, and again, this is super personal. I found the theme really cloying. I found the poetry on the back so cloying that it was, and I think that would just be the case of the book itself, right? Like if I was reading that poetry, I'd be chucking it in the fire.
Sam, just so you're aware, before we get onto Fahrenheit 451 over there, I read the poem, so I read something like Dandelion or Magpie, I read it out loud, or Raven, and I was really, because I like poetry. I don't read a lot of it, but when I read it, I quite like it. Pete gets a card dealt to him, and I looked at him expectantly. Words out of his mouth, I'm not reading that. Such disdain. It didn't mention anything about the mechanics at all.
No, but it's the poetry is so beautiful. The artwork is...
It's gorgeous.
The artwork is beautiful. The artwork is really, really beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, like, I would play it again. I think I only played it just with you, Kris. And I think as a 2-player, it lacks a bit of the competitive sort of take that edge that it really needs, because it got to a point where it was obvious that you were going to win, and there was no chance that I was going to take over. It became inevitable, my downfall. But that didn't stop me enjoying the poetry, and it didn't stop me enjoying the art. And like just how, yes, it's light, but I think that's reflective of its theme. I think it's light in in almost the way it like relaxes you as a player, like because it doesn't feel cutthroat in the way that like a light game could do, if that makes sense.
You're absolutely right. It's not cutthroat. It's quite light. It doesn't demand tons out of you. There's a genre called beer and pretzels, and this is wine and vol au vents.
I mean, like, I don't think that at all. I think it's a family. It's for families. Like for me, like if I needed to buy someone a stocking filler this Christmas, I'd buy them this. I
also will probably be buying this for some friends of ours that we have.
Yeah.
So just because it's definitely not for me, but it is for some some friends of ours that I know are going to really love this because they are at that early point in their like discovery of board gaming, and they're very into they're very outdoorsy people, so they're really going to love this art as well. So
yeah, it is just beautiful, and a bit like what you were saying with the game you were talking about there, Sam, before. On the table, it's just this looks really lovely, but I'm not reading that.
So I don't know about you, but so I'm a subscriber to a email every week that comes through that is all about
FHM
newly trending words.
So we've gone from lost words to
to new ones. And the word, the phrase that popped up in my weekly email today was the phrase doomscrolling. And
yeah, I've heard of doomscrolling.
So doomscrolling is a thing where, and it's there's a little graph that comes with every email that says use over time, and it's really interesting to see. So doomscrolling's really been spiking recently, and doomscrolling is the concept of being on usually a phone and scrolling through usually social media and just seeing things. That kind of what's that thing that humans have where you look over the cliff edge and there's a little bit of you that just goes, I wonder.
Go on.
I wonder. Like, and it's that horrible thing. The human brain does that a whole bunch. And I feel like doom scrolling is the same thing, whereby you keep going through Twitter, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse, and you can't look away. And over this year, I've been trying to really push back on my time with social media because I've realised it is really damaging. So, I tend to just post, here's a nice link to a nice thing that somebody I know has done, rather than like, I don't like my chicken nuggets. Which just seems to be what social media is filled with.
Yes, that famous quote from Nietzsche: "Once you stare into the abyss will stare."
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it. So I was like, but what I do like to do is I do like to be engaged with. The thing I liked about Twitter a lot was engaging with the people who made the things that I like and being interested in specific things. So I thought, okay, well, to blazes with it, I'll download Reddit and I'll see if I can get into Reddit because I've never
of it
done. Yeah, all of Reddit downloaded onto my phone.
I've printed it all out.
I've read all of it. It's fine.
Like when they printed out the human DNA in books.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, do you know it's been a revelation?
Good. And r/revelation.
r/revelation. Well, maybe don't go to that because I don't know what that would be. Reddit is, if you aren't aware, is it's like a big forum essentially, but everything is categorized into subreddits. So, for example, there is r/boardgames, r/gaming. There's a few gaming ones, some less good, some much more good. But board game is pretty good actually. It's pretty nice, pretty right on. Mm-hmm. It's a nice bunch. I'm on r/OSR for a bunch of RPG stuff. I'm on the RPG one as well. I've got r/AWW, which is just the cutest pictures of babies and animals and nice things happening. r/wholesome, just messages about like how nice people doing nice things, uplifting news, all that kind of thing.
Can I recommend a couple to you?
Oh, go on. Recommend me another.
I recommend
Go on.
r/mildly interesting.
I love mildly interesting.
Mildly
Interesting is incredible. This idea that the images that get posted on there are just mildly interesting, and it is always you're looking at it and you're like, that is mildly interesting. I wonder why that happened.
Also, r/showerthoughts.
Showerthoughts is really good as well. Like the idea of just sort of galaxy brain thoughts, I would say. But aren't we just all skeletons in meat? It's like, oh.
If ghosts exist, they outnumber the living by many millions.
It's true. Thanks, r/showerthoughts.
If giraffes ever go extinct, it will be hard to describe them without making them seem like a dinosaur.
That's true. There you go. So that's Reddit, basically. And the thing about Reddit is that unlike things like Facebook or Twitter where... Oh, go on.
If it wasn't for pizza, pepperoni wouldn't be eaten nearly as much.
You know what? They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Learning a new language is kind of like uploading subtitles into your head.
It sounds like something my brother would say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Like he's probably a mod, to be honest.
Did I tell you? Sorry about my brother. Like we had a WhatsApp call, a message of the day on the family because I've just got a nephew. And my sister put on the group excitedly. She was with my mother, and she was saying, "Oh, look, the baby's got a birthmark on its neck, just like you've got, Lawrence." And my brother was like, "Have I?"
Oh, Kris.
He's a good lad, isn't he?
He's very special.
He's a good lad.
Anyway,
yes.
Reddit.
So Reddit,
mildly interesting though.
Yeah,
mildly interesting.
Yeah, mildly. Get him on it. Get him onto r/showerthoughts. So the difference between Reddit and one of these other social media things is that everything you're looking at is either relevant or interesting or lovely. Or if you want it to be doom, you can have that as well. Now, that is a preamble to one of the greatest things that I think that has come out of this that's really got me thinking recently, which was an amazing post on r/boardgames. And it really got me thinking about games and value. Because there's a lot of talk about like, ooh, that's quite an expensive board game. Or like, ooh, like 70 quid, is it really worth that amount? For, one of these big games filled with plastic and all that sort of stuff. And somebody put this post out, and I'll link to it in the show notes. And basically what they said was they asked, which games have been the best and the worst value for you? And they basically said that they had this rule in the friendship group that they played board games in, that the value of a game is $1 per hour played, multiplied by the number of players you usually play with, right? So to put that into perspective, a game of Azul is about 1 hour in length, and that game is usually played with 4 players in that gaming group. Therefore, one game of Azul is $4, right? So their point is, if you pay $40 for Azul, if you've played 10 games, you've got your money's worth.
Yeah.
Right? And it got me, and obviously the key point to all of this was what did they've basically asked Reddit, like, what do they think that the games with the best and the worst value actually are? As in, what are the very, very big expensive games that you just never manage to get to the table, and therefore very poor value? And what are the and maybe quite short, maybe, I don't know. And what are the best games for that, which are obviously, the reverse of that? What are the games that are cheap and you get loads of games out of it, or maybe it takes a while to play, but you always play it alone, and it's a regular of your table. Like lots and lots of different players. And I really got thinking about this, and I started to think what incredible value some of the games on my shelf are. So I want to give you an example. I've got a game called One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and that is a game that comes out so often. Like, if I've got enough people, if I've got like 4 or 5, probably about 5 is about the sweet spot for like the point where it's like, okay, it's One Night Ultimate Werewolf time. But it goes up to like 7 or 8. And, you know, the expansions and stuff like that will go up even further. And that game is like, what, $15? Like, like maybe, like, let's say 20. Like, I must have got hundreds of dollars worth of value out of that single game. And so I guess that's my, like, I guess I wanted to talk with you guys about it and figure out, like what do you think your best and your worst ones are?
Well, thanks to my handy ScorePal app, I can tell you that the game I've played most is the sequel to Ganz Schön Clever.
Yeah.
It's a roll and write game.
Surprise, surprise.
It's Doppelt So Clever.
Doppelt So Clever.
So twice as clever.
Okay.
By the way, roll and write fans, the 3 times as clever comes out later this year, hopefully.
Oh, you're kidding me. I've not
Hot
heard
off
of
the
this.
presses.
I've already downloaded the app.
You're a monster. So this is £13.
So £13. Okay, see if you can work this out.
Okay.
So, on average, the average player count is 2.
Yep, fine.
Okay, but I have played this game for 27.5 hours.
What? So let's say 27 times 2. Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously not. The game doesn't take 27 hours. The game on average is 30 minutes.
No, sure, but you've played 27 hours worth of that game.
27.5 hours
and
worth
the
of that
average is you play it with 2. So let's just say on average, let's double it and say, okay, 54 hours in total.
Yep.
And so that's 54. So that's $1 per hour.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's $54. So you've more than easily paid. It's more than easily paid for itself.
Did you know that, son?
Don't know what.
That it's already paid for itself?
I wish it would. Probably the next one down there is another roll and write called Quicks Deluxe, and this is a game that I bought on my first stag do in Germany.
So good. My parents love Quicks.
Probably about €13, something like
Okay.
that. We'll probably get about, on average, with 2 players played it 6 times, with 4 players and 3 players 4 times each. Okay. 16 hours and 50 minutes.
16. So should we multiply that, split it down the middle? Maybe multiply it by 3?
Yeah.
That's 48.
Yeah.
So you've definitely made your money back. Like in terms of
Yeah.
what per dollar, dollar per hour amount. I really feel like that's.
And the worst value one, this is probably it.
Oh dear.
Magic the Gathering, Arena of the Planeswalkers.
Oh, yes. We played that once.
Yes, we did play that once for 35 minutes, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh.
I won.
And to be fair, though, I only paid £8 for it, so it might not be that bad. Tapping away.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Arena of the Planeswalkers. Yeah. So that's 20 quid.
No, well, I only paid £8 for it.
Okay, you only paid 8 quid for it. Okay. Well, that's not so bad. But I mean, still, that's not great. And to be honest, by the looks of things, neither is the game.
No. I'd also put Blood Rage in there, considering it's RRP. Me and Chris played that only for an hour.
Did not like that at all.
Neither of us wanted to
Ridiculously overhyped.
wanted to go back to that.
62 quid.
Exactly, and we played it for an hour.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Not very good.
Once.
So I think Well, I mean, what about you, Chris? What's the top one? Is it?
It's really interesting, because I know we've played War of the Ring recently, Pete and Bristol, but I tend to play that game on my own.
Sure.
And I think crunching the numbers, I'd have to have played it 15 times on my own to get it to RRP, which I think I may have nearly done, because I really do enjoy that game.
Yeah. I mean, you play it on your own about 3 times a year, maybe more than that.
Yeah. I love it. And I think probably my least valued one would probably be, I'd say, Santorini. It's a game I like, but I don't know a lot of people who like it. Occasionally people go, oh, I want to play that, but it's not one that people want to get to the table. That or Inish. Inish is more of an expensive game, and I really like it, but it just never gets to the table.
I'd probably say Inish, because it's one of those, really, it should be 3-4 players, and, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Also, assuming the oldest actors regularly appear in movies with people 60 years younger than them, the final 6th degree of Kevin Bacon will die sometime around the year 2400. Just think in the year of our Lord, 2400. They won't be able to play 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon ever again.
So I have been binging a TV series since March, actually. It came at a time when I really, really needed it to. And it has been, for me, a real source of enjoyment, and it has allowed me, like many few things, and I know we've spoken about that before over the last few months, the kind of things we've done or have explored as a tonic against the current climate we're in.
How many episodes are there if you've been binging since March?
There are 77 episodes.
Holy cow.
2 specials. I've just been rewatching them.
What's this thing called?
It is called Taskmaster. It's been going since 2015.
Hang on, just in case my son's listening. Taskmaster.
It has been going since 2015.
Sorry, wait, what? What was this about? Was this just some sort of like...
sorry, Sam's child's having elocution lessons as we were recording.
Oh, I see.
So if he hears this, he's on very strict instructions.
He's currently balancing a book on his head. It's like proper Pygmalion.
Ed's all right.
Okay, so Taskmaster. It's been going since 2015. It was previously on Dave up until last year, and now it's on Channel 4 with its 10th series. It's a comedy panel game show. There's a lot of them out there. I don't need to explain to you what one is. Broadly speaking, tARskmARster is 5 comedians. They compete to complete a series of strange tasks and are just awarded points based on how successful or creative they are. The majority of these tasks are individual, so the comedians would generally record their completion of the task separately, so they don't know how the others have done. But sometimes these tasks are done when they're in small teams together. And then later on, they all get in a studio together and they watch back the footage to see how well they've done. And all of this is judged by the eponymous Taskmaster, who is Greg Davis, and he's assisted by Alex Horn, who is the creator of Taskmaster. And tasks range from the vague to the specific, requiring lateral and creative thinking. This really speaks to me as a person who I'm very much interested in performance art. I am an academic who teaches performance. I like bizarre and abstract tasks because what they do is they can prompt very interesting interpretations and experiences from the performers. And for us as performers and audience members, they often make us think very much about ourselves in a manner that conventional performances just don't. And, in conventional activities, and that's what I quite like about this series. They're not baking cakes, singing a well-known song. They're doing tasks that range from hiding a pineapple on your person, surprising Alex, interviewing a stranger for 5 minutes and then having 20 minutes to write and perform a song about them, making an exotic sandwich and then finding out afterwards that you have, as quick as you can, try and eat the sandwich you've made, and impressing the mayor of Chesham. So there's a real variety there, and it's made me realise I generally don't like competitive shows because generally the stakes are really high. They put this awful dramatic music on the...
Yeah.
And I really don't like the whole narrative of that. I just find it utterly mundane. Oh, great, you're going to get a record deal. Oh, great, you're going to be in a West End show. Oh, great, you've survived this battle royale of baking. What I like about Taskmaster is that it's about... You discover... People doing it, they discover that they're good at something they had no idea they were good at, such as getting a boulder as far as possible from where they currently are in an hour. And also equally realising they're not as good at something that they thought they would be, such as fitting as much spaghetti into a grapefruit. So what you get are these wonderful kind of swings from triumph to hubris. And it's just addictive, surprising. And it's also quite humbling because you know that even though they may be rubbish at one task, they're going to be absolutely brilliant at something else. And you can never really predict it. It's not like everyone has a favourite or anything like that. And also, they are comedians. So they're able to make light of these kind of ridiculous and absurd situations that Alex puts them in. And what I love about it is that we live in this kind of absurd time. And I think that if we can't make light of the serious at instances, then just... Oh my gosh, it makes us truly miserable. As Sam alluded to, there is a Taskmaster board game. There is also a book. And I was wondering...
A book?
Yes, I was wondering if I could get you, just quickly where you are now, to do a task for me.
Oh, no.
No, it's fine. You just need pen and paper. That's it.
All right, yeah, I've got a pen and paper.
Pete, have you got... You're sat at your desk, Pete. Pen and paper. That's it.
Yeah, go on then. I'm not going to read it.
No, it's all right.
Do we have to be funny?
No. Not at all.
Thank God.
All right, okay, good.
I just
Thank
want
God.
all I would like you to do
Yeah.
is draw a self-portrait, but I'd like you to have your eyes closed.
All right,
Well,
okay.
this isn't going to make much...
Do you have a time limit?
No. Well, yeah, that's true. We haven't got all day. Give you a minute.
What, are you going to talk about something while we do it to fill the dead air?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you'll be editing this, Sam, so you'll kind of do a nice gentle fade in and fade out.
Will I?
Okay, so your minute starts now.
Oh, Christ, I've already
Oh,
started.
yeah, go.
Eyebrows.
So, yes, while you're doing this, so this book, this is the first exercise from the book, and there are many more in there. And they've actually recently done, over the lockdown period, they did a home tasking thing where Alex would set different home tasks to members of the public, and they would submit and from all over the world, people would submit their responses, and then Greg, the Taskmaster, would rank them. And it's led to its international popularity, really, because it's just people really needed that something to do in lockdown.
It kind of reminds me of Don't Get Got.
Yes, and stop.
Oh, right, okay.
Can you show me, please?
Oh my God, it looks like...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Right, okay. Right, go to Staying In Pod on Instagram and Twitter to see this abomination. I've somehow managed to oh, that's really
That's
good.
really good.
All your features fit on your face. I've somehow managed to make them.
Yours is really
slide.
nice. No, yours has got like a real nice sensibility to it. Mine looks like I've been held back a year.
By your ears.
By your ears.
Yeah.
Just extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. I can highly recommend it. They're all on UK TV Play. They're also on Channel 4. If you've got kids and you're worried about it being quite rude, there is a child-friendly version that's on E4, I think, on a Sunday, where they bleep out the rude words and stuff and censor things.
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
so it's fun for the family as well, for the grown-ups. I love it, and it just makes sense to me, because what makes sense these days?
So that was Staying In with myself, Sam Turner, Kris Darby, and Peter Willington. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the podcast. As again, we slip into these uncertain times where we don't really know what's going on all over the world. This show is all about sharing the things that you're loving and enjoying with those closest around you. So If you're looking for something to share with your friends or family, or just looking for something to watch or play on your own, then go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, Staying In Pod. You can go to Board Game Geek and also Steam, where we've got curated pages where we list all the video games and all the board games that we talk about. There'll be something on there to help maybe distract you, give you a bit of escapism, make you laugh, make you think, all those wonderful things that sometimes we neglect or miss out on. Please get in touch with us if you've got a suggestion for something that you think that we should be paying attention to. As usual, you can join us on the social media feeds, the Soch, or stayinginpod@gmail.com. But for now, until next time, take care. Bye.